Hey, Sean, welcome
How's
back
it going?
to the
Yes,
TFI podcast.
been a while.
It has. It's yeah. So we were just chatting about token 2049.
Yeah. Give us a update on your experience in Dubai. What was happening there? Token 2049. I missed all of it. I don't know anything that's happening.
Yeah. So first of all, like to your point, Dubai is a beautiful place with fantastic people, super friendly folks. Nothing negative to say about the city, but the poor people in the poor city was not prepared for any amount of rain, and they got apparently the amount of rain that they would normally get with an entire year landed within the course of a few hours.
What?
Yeah.
I've been to Dubai like I don't know, like 8 times. I have never seen it rain. Ever.
That's it. Apparently, it's like, I mean, it's the desert. It's like the
Yeah.
driest, most arid desert.
Yeah.
The government said that they don't do cloud seeding. All the taxi drivers I spoke to said that's definitely cloud seeding
They
that
do
caused
do
this.
it. They definitely do. There are reports on the internet saying that they did do cloud. I don't know if they're currently doing cloud seeding, but they definitely did cloud seeding in the past.
Yes, which is ironic. I don't know if it's a cumulative thing over time because it's not. It wasn't the hot season there anyways. I guess, but
Hmm.
like apparently the summer they want to encourage a lot more tourism revenue, so they're trying to like mediate that 120-degree temperatures and bring it down
Yeah.
with cloud seeding. But yeah, I landed there on like I would say 3 or 4 days before the conference started, and then it started raining a little bit. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is fine. It's normal like rain that you go to in any major city, and then it didn't stop, and it just kept getting heavier. And the amount of heavy rain wasn't that surprising because like if you're in a big thunderstorm or something, you're used to it. But
Yeah.
what was weird was even like the hotel that I was in, there was a restaurant on the second floor, and the waiters are sitting next to the doors, like trying to push the door to keep the rain from coming in the door. Like the
Wow.
literally all the logistics. I went to the front desk, the lobby, and they were trying to physically hold the door shut because the rain was and the water was coming through.
Yeah, I don't think that's a city that is prepared for any sort of rain. Forget the amount of rain they get in 1 year in a couple hours.
Yeah. No, it's exactly the case. And it was like, it was this beautiful. I don't know if you've ever seen I think it was Jumeirah. It was this like
Yeah.
island they built in the desert,
Yep.
in the ocean. I was staying on it, but I was staying on a tip end of it. This massive, basically a city, like a substantial, like massive city in the
So the
water.
Palm Jumeirah, for people who don't know, is basically it's connected to Dubai through a bridge, and it's like a semicircle. So like you can go in and then you like it's a semicircle, and like all the hotels are like inside, and then on the circle is where like the beach resorts are. So were you on like one of the inner ones, or were you on the ones where they had like a beach resort
It was.
type of?
I was as far away as you could get. You would go like at the base of the palm tree, and then go to the very top where the
Yeah.
nice Atlantis hotel is, and then you would
Right.
drive another 15 minutes on the top arc to get to where
Okay.
I was. So I didn't realize this. Like
Yeah.
I thought I was just booking a hotel in the area. I
Yeah.
was so far away, and there was no one coming to get me. I was just locked in.
Well, if you're ever in Dubai next time, let me know. I can definitely give you some recs. I've been there a bunch of times. I love that city. So okay, so it rains a lot, and what happens then? Like, were things normal, or did it just get so out of control that like the city shut? I could imagine that the city shuts down.
The city basically shut down for a couple days. After the rain went away, everything was very peaceful and it was beautiful almost immediately.
Okay.
But the logistics were more or less shut down. A lot of the major intersections getting into like the Palm Jumeirah area or downtown Dubai were just totally shut off. The waters did not recede very quickly,
Okay.
surprisingly. There were a lot of cars on the road they had to remove. I was trying to get to other conference events and couldn't take an Uber, and then I was trying to take Metro, and Metro would just not be running, or it would be running at maybe 1/10 of the capacity that it normally would have had. So it was a couple days were just kind of shot. But after that, people got real excited, and everybody went back to normal. We had a few really successful days of the conference. Great conversations with customers. Everyone's super enthusiastic, and everything keeps going per usual.
That's awesome. So did the rain stop by the time the actual conference started?
It did. Really, the rain only lasted for probably less than a day, I would say.
Okay, okay. It wasn't like a multiple day thunderstorm or something.
No, no, it just dropped in a very short period of time. And then it was more of a cleanup issue after that. And I didn't have a chance to make it to the main conference, but apparently it was very busy, very packed, very, very well attended. I attended a bunch of other side events and things related to restaking topics and other things like that. Folks kind of in the EigenLayer ecosystem, and everyone was super happy to be there and enthusiastic.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I don't, this is not like a referendum on Token 2049, but I think like most conferences people go to, they go for the side events and the dinners and etc. so that you can like learn, the side events generally have more learning opportunities and better networking opportunities as well, unless there's like a really, really massive keynote speaker that everyone wants to see. Like if Vitalik shows up, then everyone wants to go to that. Um,
Yes.
but otherwise, yeah. So, where was the actual Token 2049 conference? Like, do you know which building or anything it was in?
I believe it was close to the Mall of the Emirates. There's a big
Okay.
conference center down there, kind of
Yeah.
towards downtown area over there.
Yeah.
Um, the tickets were like $1,000 and they sold out even like a week or two before, which was
Wow.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, Dubai's become a big crypto city in general. Like I know we spoke to a lot of crypto VCs based out of Dubai, spoke to a bunch of like candidates based out of Dubai, companies based out of Dubai. So, they're definitely doing something right there. It seems that Dubai and Singapore are like becoming more and more, crypto. A lot of crypto people are moving to those cities in Asia as relative to other cities. I don't know if that's your experience as well.
It was. I was chatting with a founder who had founded a crypto company and sold a crypto company out of Dubai, and apparently the tax benefits are substantial. I think there's like very few or no capital gains tax on crypto companies in Dubai, something like this. So,
I think there's just very few capital gains tax period
okay, there you
in
go.
Dubai, yeah. And income tax
Yeah.
is also pretty low. Yeah.
Yeah, fascinating story of like the history of how that whole area was founded, but all the international trade zones and all the shipping activity there, like it's just incredible. I thought of them previously as more of like an oil rich area, but apparently it's much more of like oil is only like 30% of their GDP for the UAE. I learned,
Hmm.
which was massive. That's a
Yeah.
massive
So
like
the UAE is the United Arab Emirates, right? It's actually kind of like the US. It's split up into different emirates, and every emirate has like a ruler, which you could think of as like a governor of a state, but with more power. And then like the capital city is Abu Dhabi, and Abu Dhabi's king is the ruler of the country. And Abu Dhabi has had much more oil than Dubai ever did. So Dubai really early on realized that they needed to get in tourism and like business, like industry into the city, right? And so they started this plan. I don't remember the exact time, but in the 70s or 80s. And so, I have some family actually in Dubai. So this is why I've been there a bunch of times as a kid, and I've been there a bunch of times as an adult. I've seen the city change. But yeah, it's just like a phenomenal place to be.
the scale of growth was fascinating. The amount of skyscrapers and the beauty and like the opulence was incredible. So
Yeah.
clearly they figured something out.
Yeah. There's also some definite downsides that probably not worth getting into at this point, but they're like it's all about trade-offs, right? We talk about crypto economic incentives and trade-offs. In crypto, it's
Yes.
similar, right? There are a lot of like, there's been a lot of debt and they had to like, get bailed out, and housing prices have crashed because there's always been build people are always building, so there's a whole bunch of other issues that that come with that. But that's awesome. How were the side events? What were some of the coolest side events that you went to?
Some of the best side events that I went to, there was one actually at a VC in town there, right, kind of in the Marina district, close to the Hilton down there, and they had this really fun event. Actually, let's see if I have my swag nearby. I could show you. It was this is kind of a good metaphor for the overall event. This is like my favorite swag here, which is sort of a foray into some of the topics we were talking about. they gave out these wristbands. One said secured by BTC. Other one said secured by ETH.
Live strong bands. I haven't seen those in a long time.
I know. It was great. It was a great little play on like restaking with ETH versus people that are building restaking on Bitcoin. Um, so that was fun. So it was kind of like the typical fair. There were a few other events I didn't have a chance to get to that I was hoping to, that were more like some really good seafood events and things like that. But overall, a lot of good like builders, a lot of people wanting to participate in the network as operators and validators. So it was a good showing.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Cool. Those are, it sounds like Dubai was a great time, except for the rain and, not being able to leave the hotel for a day or two. Um, but yeah,
that's
that's
it.
awesome.
Yeah, no, beautiful place. And the crypto community does not disappoint with like the fun travels. That's for sure.
Yeah. I always have FOMO when I miss out, like FOMO for these events, but like, if we went to every event, then we would never do any work.
That's
So,
true.
when we have like more sales focused and go to market focus, we'll definitely be at more of them.
Indeed. Well, should we chat about Stripe real quick
Yes.
and what they're up
Yeah.
to? So this is a big deal because crypto payments in general, like we talk about this a lot, especially stablecoin payments, like have gone in and out of fashion. Stripe has historically been a big supporter of crypto, but they haven't had a crypto payment solution since like 2017, 2018 was the last
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. They were accepting Bitcoin in I think it was only Bitcoin in like 2017, 2018. Or no, it was 2018, I think. And then they just stopped.
Which like
I assume at that point, like their customers, they didn't see enough like volume in like, getting like Bitcoin transactions for them to like, spend money on people and teams and infrastructure and stuff like that.
that's exactly right. Well, it sounds like they're back. They're announcing a new crypto payment mechanism, and they just demoed with Solana. Interesting was their blockchain of choice. That basically folks can come to the website, any of their Stripes. And to give people a little bit of background, Stripe is a payments processor effectively for online e-commerce. So any online e-commerce site can plug into Stripe, and then that e-commerce site's customers will pay through Stripe, and it's just got a nice easy flow. They can put in their credit card information, and Stripe handles all the back end componentry.
Mm-hmm.
But what's special about this case is now for the Stripe user, instead of having to pay with their Amex or their Visa, it would prompt them to open up a Web3 wallet and pay with that Web3 wallet, and then to get processed on the back end with Stripe's ecosystem. But it's very interesting that they used Solana as their demo for speed of transactions. And it's also very interesting to think about like tax implications. Does that surprise you that they would start with Solana, or is that just a sign of
So
the times?
just to be clear, they're only supporting USDC.
Yes,
So like 1-to-1 USDC to USD, so like the tax implication isn't there, but
that's right.
they're supporting USDC on 3 blockchains: Solana, Ethereum, and Polygon.
You're right. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep. That's
Solana,
right.
Ethereum, and Polygon. Which Polygon isn't just an L2 on Ethereum. So like I guess they knew the Polygon guys. Like, you could, it's like the same as supporting Arbitrum and OP and any ETH L2 or ETH L2 rollup, right? But yeah. So my understanding is that like it makes sense that they're doing stable coins actually, because like tax implication a lot easier, right? It's 1-to-1. You don't have to worry
You're right.
about that. USDC, we've spoken about this on the show before, is audited every month, right? By actual auditors, and there's less risk there. And then in general, like if you're a Stripe customer, right? If you're like a Web2, I don't like saying Web2. If you're a non-Web3 company, why would you like want to deal with the and you're not crypto native? Until you get someone like that, why deal with the headache of like, should I hold, should I be a hedge fund, should I wait, like all of this, where like USDC is just a format of like, oh, USDC gets transferred into USD pretty immediately, right? So overall I think it makes a lot of sense that Stripe is starting out with USDC. I don't understand what it means to you know, when they say like, they're only going to support on the Solana, Ethereum, and Polygon blockchains, because isn't USDC like an ERC token, a specific token, and it only it works on like the Ethereum blockchain, or is that not right?
Apparently, no. Apparently, USDC. Well, USDC on Ethereum is exactly that, but it looks like they've deployed USDC versions of USDC on multiple other chains,
Oh, okay.
which would probably each need to have their own pegging system to peg it to the dollar. So you have definitely like ERC20 is on Ethereum. It looks like they've got Algorand, OP Mainnet, Polkadot, Solana, Stellar, zk, a lot of different chains right now where they're deployed. But it's completely independent deployments in order to support that.
Okay. So, okay, that makes sense. So basically, they were like, okay, let's just take Ethereum and Solana, which are basically the two biggest blockchains, and we're going to support USDC. So that basically what this means is that any developer who's building on top of Ethereum or Solana and Polygon blockchains and wants to support USDC payments can now just use Stripe as like their checkout, which is really great for developers because there's a lot of like crypto on ramps and off ramps, but there isn't like and there are a bunch of companies building like payment processors, but like and obviously but Stripe is the best. Like they've been doing this for whatever 15 years or something like that, and they probably have the best like fraud. They probably have their best risk detection. They have the best like portal for businesses on the like if you're a business and you set up a Stripe account, like that the portal for the business side, the user experience there. So I think this is like a win-win for everyone. Let's just hope that Stripe keeps it.
Yes, exactly. It is, and it's like it's furthering the dominance of USDC, which is interesting. They didn't choose Tether, they didn't choose Dai or another stablecoin provider like that, because the USDC is already so large and significant, and they're an interesting kind of like presence with EigenLayer. Like they really kind of dominate a lot of the regulatory space too, but they also maybe have better backing and better auditing. So it's interesting to see two like big corporate giants kind of like moving that use case forward.
Yeah, I think this is a like if just from like Stripe's perspective, like they must have been seeing that like more and more companies are using crypto, right? And this is like a good experimentation of like getting into crypto, where like we said, USDC is 1-to-1 back like with USD, right? It's another like pretty well known corporation, Circle, which has a bunch of investors, including Coinbase. So, like in a way, Coinbase and Stripe are kind of partnering, at like a high level, which is kind of interesting, right? I'm sure that the Circle team probably ran this by Coinbase before doing it, right? But it's also good for Coinbase, even if they're building like a similar, payment processor called Coinbase Commerce. And yeah, I think it's just overall good for the crypto industry for more people being able to accept USDC. Think about all of Stripe's customers. How many Stripe customers do you think Stripe has? Must be in the millions, right?
That's a great question.
Right.
How much volume were they processing per day?
Yeah. And just making all of their customers being access to USDC, right? This could be like if done properly, this could be like a big jump for the crypto industry.
You're right. Like if as a crypto user, if I wanted to go on Etsy and make some payment, I want to buy like a special like piece of pottery for someone for a gift or something, and I wanted to pay with like an ERC20 token, that's kind of difficult to do today. But if Stripe just enables it, and I can just go through Stripe to pay with USDC, that could be a massive unlock for all that crypto that was just not I couldn't use for retail purposes previously. Yeah.
And imagine like you are a business in the US and you have customers outside of the US, right? Like if you're in the US, like, yeah, credit card, whatever is fine. But, there are a whole bunch of credit card issues when you're outside of the US, right? Now you can be like, oh, I'm just going to use USDC. Payments go through pretty quickly, right? You don't have to worry about exchange rates. You don't have to worry about all of that. I think this is phenomenal. So Stripe, I just did a quick Google search. As of January 2024, Stripe has 1.321 million active websites that use it, including 804,000 unique domains, and 2.72 million websites globally have used Stripe at some point. So, that's a lot of businesses using Stripe. This is all generated from Gemini, which is Google's AI. So take that for what it's worth. But
Okay.
yeah. Um, uh,
Good call on the chat GPT by the or the GPT by the way. That is the best.
what do you mean?
The
No,
most
Gemini's LLM, like Google's
such a
LLM, Gemini.
such a smart move. Instead of searching the news headlines, just go straight to the LLM.
Oh, no, I put it into Google, but Google's doing this thing where the first thing is like Gemini generated, and then everything else is like the links below. So I'm still using Google, but it's like it's the it's their AI that pops up first.
They're helping you they're encouraging you to use the LLM. Okay.
Yeah.
All the better.
And then last year, according to CNBC, Stripe in 2023, Stripe's total payment volume was over 1 trillion, right? So they've probably seen more different types of payments and than anyone else except like crypto payments, right? But like, because like imagine how much transactions are happening on like Ethereum and Bitcoin and etc., right? So like outside of that, it's probably them. So like if you're a developer, you're like you trust them, they can do risk and fraud correctly, right? They have regulatory team. So yeah, I think this is great.
Well, does that mean that these payments through Stripe with crypto need to have additional like regulatory checks and compliance checks in order to like manage fraud? Does that open up like a can of worms for
Yeah,
Stripe or
I don't know. I assume a little bit, but like again, it's USDC. So I mean, Stripe is already doing KYC, right? So like,
yeah?
how this works is you're a Stripe customer, you want to enable Stripe on your website. They're already doing KYC on you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not their job to do KYC on like the end consumer, regardless of crypto or not crypto, because at the end of the day, like Stripe is doing KYC on the customer, on the business, and once that's been checked out that this business is legitimate, right? Like you don't have to worry about, like, they already know that the businesses on their website are not like, I don't know, terrorists or violating media rights, et cetera, right? Because they're doing KYC already. So I assume not.
We'll just fit into the flow.
Yeah,
All
exactly.
right. Makes sense. Very cool. Well, should we share some updates on EigenLayer stuff?
Yeah, I put this on. I felt like, there was a lot of news about EigenLayer in the last month, and I thought this might be a good opportunity. We have some time to like just learn more about EigenLayer and how it works, and why people use it, and everything are related around that.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah, it has been a pretty interesting past month for us with EigenLayer, especially we just launched our AVS mainnet on April 11th. And so it might be good just to give like a kind of a quick recap. I'd actually love to hear your take on like this metaphor for EigenLayer with like municipal bonds in particular.
Yeah, how about we start about what EigenLayer is, what AVS is, what EigenDA is, and then we can jump into, maybe you should just give a high level on those
Yeah,
things.
yeah. The easiest high level overview is that EigenLayer enables restaking, this sort of new primitive, to establish decentralized trust. There's been staking for a while. People stake to secure their Ethereum nodes, but restaking is a new primitive where you take restaked ETH, you lock it up into this specific protocol, and you use it to help make these new services that people are going to build more trusted and more secured. And so you've got these entities, these people who are restaking. Could be anybody, could be me or you, could be an institution. They're going to restake into the protocol. And then you have these other folks named operators. And just like in any other crypto protocol, you have miners or validators. In this case, we call them operators, and they're going to run services. So the restakers take that ETH that they've restaked in the protocol and they delegate it into an operator. And then that operator is going to say, I'm going to run some set of services. Maybe I'm going to run a decentralized AI service. Maybe I'm going to run a database service. Maybe I'm going to run an Oracle or a bridge. Could be really any sort of service that can be proven on chain. And those services, because the operator is constantly running them, constantly proving that they're running them on chain, they're constantly being validated. They're actively being validated. So those services are really going to be called actively validated services in the ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
And previously, lots of different services have implemented this idea. Ethereum implements this idea in a very specific sense of validators validating the blockchain for Ethereum. Bitcoin has the concept of miners. People are just validating the blockchain, the Bitcoin blockchain. Cosmos, everything else is. But the unique innovation there is that EigenLayer is opening this up for any sort of innovation, any sort of service, effectively. It doesn't have to be associated with a specific blockchain. It could be any sort of a digital service that folks want to add trust to.
So do you have to do a partnership with EigenLayer to run the protocol, like to be an operator that accepts staked ETH from the EigenLayer protocol, or like can you just start running, the protocol and start accepting it?
Just start running the protocol and start accepting it. The goal of the platform is to be permissionless.
Mm-hmm.
So operators, the ability to be an operator, you just spin up an operator service. Some of the AVSs will have criteria in order for you to run them. So if I'm an operator and I spin up a bunch of servers and I want to run these various services, I have to go to each AVS and look at what their criteria is to run. One of the first AVSs that's running the services being run is a service that's also being built by EigenLayer. Very similar to how, like, when Windows was initially, booted up, Microsoft Windows had Microsoft Paintbrush, Microsoft Solitaire, Microsoft Calculator, and
Internet
Word and all these things.
Explorer.
Internet Explorer. So EigenLayer is also creating one of its own first services as a demonstration of this. And that service is called
Is that EigenDA?
EigenDA. Yeah.
Okay. So what
Yeah.
what does EigenDA do? If EigenLayer is making its own AVS product, right, called EigenDA? So
Yeah,
what do people
That's
who run
exactly right.
that protocol, what happens?
Yeah, there's a big problem in the layer 2 ecosystem right now around data availability, where all these, powerful rollups eventually need to write their data back to Ethereum L1, but writing that data back is costly and it's slow. And so this data availability solutions are nice as a first AVS for EigenLayer to try to help serve, because there's a strong demand of existing use there. So if we build an AVS to solve data availability, there's already existing users. It's a great kind of first use case. And in the case of operators for EigenDA, I think the testnet has up to 200 operators in its active set that's allowed. Mainnet right now might be closer to 70. I forget the specific number. But in order to be in that number of allowed operators, you have to have the largest portion of Ethereum delegated to you as an operator. So if I spin up an operator and I say, hey, I want to join and I want to help validate this EigenDA service, EigenDA service would say, US do not have enough ETH delegated to you. So if I come back and say, okay, now I have 1,000 ETH delegated to me, it would say, are you in the top, let's say, 200 of all the operators by amount of ETH TVL delegated to you? And if I am, then I can join the service. If I'm not, then it'll say you do not have enough. So it's sort of like you have to have enough skin in the game to be able to participate in that particular AVS.
I see. And is the plan to like democratize that over time so like smaller players can get in? But like at the beginning, you want to do it with the big players where all the users are, make sure that everything works, and then like, make that fully permissionless over time.
Absolutely. That's exactly the case. To make it further and further permissioned over time. And each AVS is going to be able to choose different criteria that matter for it. For EigenDA, it has certain performance characteristics, so it needs a high concentration of TVL for security. Other AVSs might say, we really need our operators to be geographically remote, because like with Filecoin Saturn, it may need geographic distribution. Other AVSs might care about saying we need smaller amounts of TVL because we want 1,000 different operators. We don't want a high concentration of TVL. So it's entirely configurable by whoever's writing that service and authoring their conditions.
Cool. So do you want to give us like an example? Imagine that Filecoin was a layer 2 on ETH instead of its own layer 1, right? How would and you could stake, users could stake their native token to generate return. So how does this work? Both on the EigenLayer side and on EigenDA side. Maybe you start the example on the EigenLayer side. Yeah.
Yeah, let's imagine that, because to your point, the Filecoin ecosystem today does have many of these concepts in place. People take the Filecoin token, they have to stake it to be a Filecoin storage provider.
Mm-hmm.
And then once they stake it and they perform those operations, they get payments. If they don't perform the right operations, they get slashed. So there's a ton of similarity there. In the EigenLayer ecosystem, you could spin up let's call it file layer
Okay.
participants. They could be operators effectively. And
So would these operators be storage providers, like, or would they be other people who are not providing storage?
they could absolutely be storage providers.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. Anything that can be effectively proven on chain, in which storage can be proven on chain.
Right.
So you could have a like for like. Instead of being storage providers, they'd be operators.
I see.
You could really port most of the Filecoin ecosystem directly into EigenLayer with not a ton of changes. And even to your point, one of the things that EigenLayer is working on supporting over time is this concept of native tokens, so that each individual project can also be staking their own token in addition to, like, Ethereum tokens over time. So, for example, Filecoin would come in and they would say, hey, like, you're still going to perform the same proofs that you're actually storing the data. And if you are storing the data, you get rewards in ETH or rewards in some other token. And if you're not, that would be slashed. Like, the details of slashing and payments are still being worked out, and they're a few months away. But in general, the concept is that there would be some portion of that stake, and the operators would be slashed. And then also the people who restaked it would be slashed. So the restakers need to delegate to trustworthy operators, and then the operators need to have a high uptime in order to get those payments.
So are the restakers, okay, so this is making a lot more sense to me now. So are the restakers basically, you restake, ETH and whatever service, and you delegate that through EigenLayer. And let's say as a person, right? Like, I want to participate in the Filecoin economy. So I delegate my staked ETH to storage providers that I think are trustworthy. And what does that allow them to do? It allows them to use that money to buy more storage, to do more deals online. Like I'm delegating my tokens, right, to someone. And then I'm gonna earn rewards, based on my delegation. Does that mean that, like, I'm effectively saying that, like, I support this ecosystem, and I'm supporting this ecosystem by delegating my tokens to someone so they can use it for, like, the business of this new protocol? And is that kind of like the high level vision?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Because this new high level protocol needs trustworthy operators, and those operators need to have some skin in the game. And
Yeah.
those operators, unlike Filecoin, where the operators themselves put a lot of the capital up place, actually, that's
Right.
one important difference. In this case, the operators themselves do not have to put any capital up. They can simply be trustworthy operators, and they can go to restakers and say, hey, this is why we're a trustworthy operator. We have a great uptime. We have great facilities. The restakers can then put their trust in the operator. Once it's locked for a period of time, not
Right.
indefinitely. The restakers can withdraw, but they are effectively delegating that responsibility to the operator. Now, at that point, it's the operator's choice which specific protocols they opt into. So there has to be a line of communication back
Right.
and saying, these are the protocols I'm going to run, and this is why. But you're absolutely right. It is supporting, at the end of the day, the health of those new protocols
I
as a
see.
result.
So the operator decides which protocol to run on. It's not that the operator is like, when we say the operator, it doesn't mean like a specific node operator on a specific protocol. So that
Well, what
so that
happens is the operator can choose to run participate in one or more AVS
right,
or
but
protocol.
the restaker doesn't get to choose which. Like, if I as a restaker, delegate my tokens to an operator, I don't get to decide to tell the operator which protocol that they have to run it on.
Correct.
Okay. So basically, I'm trusting the operator, not the protocol that they choose to run on.
Exactly. That's
I
exactly
see.
right.
Okay.
Yes. Which is an interesting dynamic. Now,
Yeah.
if you want to be passive capital in some sense and you want to have the upside, that's the way to do it, really. Alternatively, what happens a lot of times too, if you want to be both, you could be a restaker and you could be an operator, and you could delegate to yourself and say, I'm going to basically perform both functions, which
Yeah.
is perfectly fine. but you do have the ability to to
Very
run in
cool.
both ways. It's
So
sort of
what does the
modularized.
restaker get for like, I staked my ETH, I got like restaked ETH back, right? Or I got staked ETH back, sorry. And then I sign up, I running the, EigenDA, and I, delegate my tokens to an operator. Like what do I get in return for, delegating my tokens to an operator? Is there some sort of like reward function built in, or like am I assuming that operator's like, am I going to split the rewards that they get from them using it, from them running another protocol? Like, how does that work?
That's the biggest piece that we're working on right now, is this concept of payments and slashing. So at a
Okay.
high level, in the older EigenLayer white paper, which was released last year, the core concept is that there will be both a mechanism for payments to flow from the end users of the AVS, whoever's actually sending payments into the protocol. Those payments would then go through operators to the restaker, so there'd be upside. And there would also be potential slashing risk if the operator misbehaves that you've delegated into. There'd be some components there. There's also a lot of thought put in the white paper around a window for a restaker to undelegate, so like a notification that, hey, this operator's opting into a new AVS, and so the risk profile changes. And there's going to be so much interesting analysis that goes on about, you could imagine, all the risk profiling and how that changes over time. There's just a huge opportunity there for these folks. What's really special about this, if we think about all the infrastructure, Web3 infrastructure, AI, compute, and everything, is that today we put our trust in AWS and Google Cloud and Microsoft, because they will not mess with our data, et cetera, et cetera. Yep. That's like layer 0 of the cloud stack. But what this is doing is that's opening up a mechanism to, I wouldn't say financialize, but a mechanism to share that trust among multiple parties, so that other people can participate in that. And you don't just require a hypercloud provider to be your center of trust. You can enforce this trust cryptographically amongst other folks. And so this promise of Web3 infrastructure now becomes more viable, because these protocols can just, you can come in and say, I'm going to write Ishan's new Web3 infrastructure protocol. And you have this ecosystem of operators and capital through restaking that's ready to go to bootstrap you on day one.
Very cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I feel
not my
like
idea,
I did,
but
well, yeah,
I can't take credit for it. But it is fun.
But you are a key contributor there, so it's all good.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that was. Is there anything more you want to add on EigenLayer? Like, did we miss some stuff? Was there was there more that you wanted to chat about?
We nailed it. No, I appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, should we wrap up then?
That was good. Well done.
Yes.
Let's call it a day. All right,
awesome.
man. I'm going to play us out. Peace.
I love it.